Salutations from space and aloha from Earth, friends. I'm Gemini Brett, and to me, astrology is the poetic breath of nature. It is so much more than some symbolic language alone. And I know that when we re-nature our cosmic craft, we will remember the roots of the rules and the proofs of the astrological equations we use. One of the ways to an embodied astrological approach is to take back the measurable side of the heavenly happenings. This is astronomy. So my school is called the School of Earthstrology, and it's about this embodied approach. And I teach courses like Sacred Astronomy for Astrologers. This is the first in a series of videos where I will be updating some instructions of how to use this wonderful free open source software Stellarium, which you can find at stellarium.org. Stellarium is free for Mac, for PC, for many different operating systems, as you can see. There's also a web-based version, which we will explore a bit today. In coming videos, I will have one about just getting Stellarium from this download site onto your computer. And then we'll start looking at kind of the basic menus and how to add things and take things away and do keyboard shortcuts and all sorts of tools to work with this amazing astronomy software that can help us learn to see the chart in the sky and the sky in the chart. Now, certainly the most important way to do this is to get out of the small screen here and out to the big screen of the living sky. But I spent a lot of time in Seattle, Washington, where the sky is just eaten by a giant cloud for most of the year. So much of my work was learned using this wonderful tool of Stellarium astronomy software. And I would sit with a chart in one hand and the Stellarium in another, and see these connections. I'm going to make this a little bit easier to look at. So where I sit right now in Richmond, California, or El Sobrante, California, it's almost 11 a.m. We have the sun here at 23rd degree of tropical Gemini. The moon is well below the ground here at 12 Sagittarius. So what's this? It's either a different time or this time for a different place. So let's look at some of these Stellarium web tools. And I will say, as you can see these ads here for Stellarium mobile, Stellarium has an app, which is wonderful. It looks just like this. The Stellarium download version for the computer is way more advanced. But as you're learning this, you'll basically see how to drive the app that you can get on a tablet or a phone as well. So let's see, we have view settings, planets tonight. That's kind of fun, telling us when planets will rise and set, when they will be visible in the local sky. But this sky, again, it's either not local or it's not the right time. But I see here in the clock in the very lower right corner that I'm circling 10:58.5 a.m. So it's the right time, wrong place, right? So let's see where we are located. Up in the three lines in the upper left here. Oh, it looks like that just let me take these menus away. I guess view settings is what I want to see. Oh, this isn't what I was looking for, but it offers the ability to turn the Milky Way on and off, deep sky objects, which I am going to turn off. But I want to bring in the meridian line and also the ecliptic. So the ecliptic is the plane of Earth's orbit about the sun, and therefore, with our feet on earthly ground, it is the apparent path of the sun through our sky. It is the heart of the zodiac. It is, for the most part, where the planets travel. So you can see here the moon with Antares, the heart of the sky scorpion, is there at the ecliptic, just south of the ecliptic. Saturn, who's currently in tropical Aquarius at the ecliptic, Aries, Mars, and Jupiter at the ecliptic as well. All right, so let's find out where we can change the location here. Looks like none of this is doing it for us. What is unknown? Okay, so I don't have auto location on, so I need to search. That's the issue. So I'm just going to type in El Sobrante, California, which is where I live. There you go. Use this location. Now, it is the right place, but the wrong time. So I'm going to click on the clock here in the lower right. And let's see what I do back to real time. There you go. Okay, so this is what I am experiencing if I stick my head outside. The sun is over here in the southeast. This is the ascendant, which is where the ecliptic or the zodiac intersects the eastern horizon, and everything rises in the east and sets in the west. Here in the northern hemisphere, everything culminates or reaches its highest height at the meridian, midheaven, due south. So right now we can see that Venus has recently culminated. Venus has reached her highest height and is now on her way down. Mercury still climbing up to the midheaven. The sun as well. We're going to see Mercury in the 10th house, Venus in the 9th house, the sun at the kind of 10th, 11th cusp. So let's go look at the chart, and that's what we see. Right, let's make this now. Sun at that cusp of the 10th and the 11th house. Depends on the house system you use, astrologers. This is a porphyry chart, which simply subdivides or trisects everything between the ascendant and the midheaven into 3 equal sections of arc. We see Mercury in the 10th house, meaning Mercury's climbing up to the midheaven. We see Venus in the 9th house, a cadent house, which means falling. Venus is now falling away from her highest height of the day. We can see that the midheaven is kind of leaning towards the right of the chart, and you can see that too if I square my shoulders up to the ascendant, which is currently north of east, descendant, which is currently south of west. That due south midheaven is not right in between, but towards the descendant side, and that's why in the chart right now the third quadrant is smaller than the fourth. So some of this is, intermediate astrological language, but if you speak that, this will help you see this chart in the sky. And Stellarium is wonderful because unlike going outside, especially by day, I can't see this curve. I can see the meridian line because I know which direction is due south. And there's a lot of tools to develop to help us learn to see directions by day and also by night. Stellarium, like an astrology chart, will let us see more than we can see with our naked eye, right? The chart's letting us see all of these planets, even though the sun is above. When the sun is shining above the horizon, it is day, and there is only one star in the sky, the one we call sun, right? We can even see in an astrology chart what's below the ground because the horizontal line is the horizon, yeah? And Stellarium is like this as well. So here in the Stellarium web version, I will direct your gaze to these icons at the bottom center of the screen. One of them looks like a cloud in the sun, and you can see it says atmosphere. If I click that, the atmosphere is going to go away. And now we get to see Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury. There's Vesta here, who's not currently on my chart. This is Astro Gold astrology software. I could add Vesta in, the most visible, though not the largest, of the asteroids. And there's Vesta, right? And Stellarium told me that I would find Vesta there, right? Above the western horizon, which is the 7th house. Okay, and we can see Saturn has just set in the chart, which lets us see actually even below the ground, Saturn, Pluto, Moon, Well, in Stellarium, we can see below the ground too. This icon here, landscape, is for the ground. If I click that, it goes away. Now, it'd be nice to keep the horizon line on there. And you can see there's just kind of this, I guess, humidity bank or fog bank that's doing that for us. There might be a way for me to add a line there. So it looks like this lets me turn the landscape on and off. I might be able to right click that and get some options. Looks like no. In the app, and I will make a different video for working with the Stellarium app outside. It's really nice because you can take a smartphone that the app is installed upon and move it around, and it will actually show you what you're looking at in the sky. There's a tool here where you can change landscapes, and you can put a different line in the ground. I'm surprised that's not available here. I'm suspicious that I'm perhaps just not finding an option, because Stellarium, we will find in the computer program, offers many different types of landscapes, including just a simple line and kind of a line with a see-through bottom differentiating the above and the below, but allowing you to see it all, which this is doing, but it's not giving us much distinction of what's below the ground and what's above. Yeah. Anyway, there's Saturn, who we see has just set. In astrology, that means, at least in a quadrant house system, which defines its angular houses, the 1st, the 10th, the 7th, and the 4th, by starting with the angles of the horoscope, the horoscopos itself, the ascendant, the meridian midheaven, the descendant, where the zodiac is intersecting the western horizon, and the imum celi, the IC, the bottom of the heavens, where the zodiac is intersecting the meridian, the north-south circle, down below the ground. And in the northern hemisphere where I live, at least everywhere north of Earth's Tropic of Cancer, that is always due north below ground. So here in Stellarium web, I can click and drag, or I can probably use my cursors. Here's the right arrow. No, I can't. So I can click and drag and come over here, and I can look north. And here north, down below the ground, where the meridian, this north-south circle, intersects the ecliptic, this is the IC. So this is the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st house coming up to the ascendant in the eastern horizon. I can just see the moon with Antares here, the heart of the scorpion. In our day and age, Antares 10 degrees tropical Sagittarius. So that shows me that the moon is around 12 Sag, and that the moon is right here on the 4th house side. Now that will look backwards, and that's because I'm not facing the midheaven as our charts do, but rather I'm turned around looking north. This thing I'm finding is kind of hard to control. Okay, so here's my feet on the ground, squaring my shoulders up to the ascendant north of east currently, and the descendant south of west. You see the meridian, therefore, is a little bit to the right of the chart. Venus has just culminated. Mercury is still rising up to culminate. Mercury with the Pleiades means Mercury has just moved into tropical Gemini. Welcome home, messenger. How do I know? Because our day and age, the Pleiades mark the gateway between tropical Taurus and tropical Gemini, that cusp. So you will see this in the chart. Mercury has just moved into the tropical sign of Gemini, having been there, stationed retrograde, and coming back. All right, so all of these planets in the 3rd quadrant, as the sky is spinning, rising in the east and setting in the west, they are all coming down to the descendant, while Mercury and the sun are still rising up or reaching up to the midheaven, where they will find their highest height. So let's move this through time a little bit. And it looks like I can click through days, I can click through hours or minutes. I'm just going to put the minute thing here, and it looks like I have to use my mouse, but there we go. We can find the moment that Mercury reaches the midheaven. We can go maybe another hour and a bit, and we'll find when the sun gets to the meridian midheaven. The sun is getting close to solstice, 0 Cancer. Gosh, this thing is hard to control. So I'm going to square myself up to the ascendant-descendant axis at that time and see that it's almost due east. That means the 0 Aries point is about to set. Okay. because 0 Aries, late Gemini, 0 Libra is about to rise, not yet. 0 Libra will rise when this ecliptic is due east. The ascendant is only due east twice a day, and that's when the equinox points rise and set. So let's first look at this time of 1:10 p.m. Let's do that on the chart here. And we should find the sun right at the midheaven. There you go. Missed it by 6 arc minutes. Let's also go to when 0 Libra rises. Do that first in the chart here. So it's around, why not just get right there? So sometime around 1:51 p.m. So let's go here at Stellarium to 1340. Can I type that? Maybe I have to pause it and then I can type. No, it's just not letting me type at all, unfortunately. Maybe if I click that, I can use my cursors. Nope. Okay, so I need to click that a whole bunch of times. And we'll go to 40, 32 is going to be close enough. So see how now the ascendant is due east, right? And therefore we get this perfect kind of square chart. So that's 0 Libra rising, 0 Cancer at the midheaven, 0 Aries setting. The sun now in the cadent house, the falling house. And we find Neptune has recently set. Jupiter and Mars are about to. We don't see Chiron here. Venus is with Uranus, who we don't see either. So there is a chance that we can change the settings there so we can see more. Just surprised. There's a lot of settings that feel to me like they are missing in this web version. View settings, this seems to be my only options here. So even the app has a lot more to offer. And while this is a wonderful way, this web-based version, to start seeing the chart as it relates to the actual sky and the ground, especially given that we can take the atmosphere and the landscape away and see what's below ground and see through the light of day, we're not able to see much that even the chart is showing. In the web-based program, it's very limited. In the computer program, which I'm going to create instructional videos for as well, we'll have to create many instructional videos because there's a lot you can do in that program. I'm sure I've not learned it all yet. But let's just find our way through the rest of these menus. And, let's honor also that we have a search button here. So maybe I can search for Pluto. There we go. So it's showing us that at this time, Pluto is here, somewhere between Moon and Saturn. I can put my feet back on the ground. So I'm looking west, somewhere between west and north, somewhere between the descendant and the IC. And there you go, Pluto between Moon and Saturn, between the descendant and the IC. I wonder, maybe we can search for Chiron, the centaur. There you go. So we're going to find Chiron very close to Mars right now. There it is. Oh, by the way, here I'm just scrolling forward on my trackpad, and that's zoom. So here's a Mars-Chiron conjunction. Stellarium very beautifully is showing us that not all conjunctions are created equally. Like on the chart, that just looks like Mars-Chiron within a degree. All right, and I could go to tomorrow, or probably 2 days from now, and we'll find that Mars-Chiron conjunction perfect. Well, let's go 2 days forward here in Stellarium to June 15th, 2022, and there's this Mars-Chiron conjunction. I've got to search Chiron again to get Chiron to show up. And look, they're almost exactly conjoined by longitude, which is zodiac degree, but not by latitude. Here we see that Chiron's longitude at the time. Oh, you know what we don't see? You will find in the computer version of the software, we can get celestial longitude and latitude measurements along this ecliptic, which is what we see in the chart, and also how far from the ecliptic. We're not seeing any of that here, sadly. We're only seeing right ascension and declination, which is measured from a different circle, the equator. All right, so if I click Mars now, I guess we can at least compare their right ascension. Chiron at this time, 54 1/3 minutes of right ascension, and for Mars, 1 hour and 2 minutes, super close by. If we were able to show celestial coordinates, longitude and latitude, we would see that their longitude is the same at that time. Now let's go back to now. I can just click that now button. I can do something very similar in AstroGold astrology software for the Mac now. Right? And look at Venus and Uranus are close. Venus conjoined Uranus a couple of days ago. So let's search for Uranus here. And there you go. There's that Venus-Uranus conjunction. I could go back a couple days. Here's June 11th, conjoined, right? So not every conjunction is an occultation, very rare, where Venus would actually be seen moving directly in front of Uranus and blocking Uranus from our view, at least those of us who have telescopes. Let's go back a couple days here and we'll see that Venus-Uranus conjunction, right? All right, so working with the chart, working with Stellarium can really help. We can also learn, for example, where 16, 17 degrees of tropical Taurus lives in the backdrop of the fixed stars, or at this time, 2 days ago, Mercury 29 Taurus, okay, Sun 21 Gemini. Well, let's see this button here at the bottom. Menus, constellations. I'm going to turn that on, and now we get to see these constellation lines. Well, you might be tripped out to see that Taurus, Venus, Uranus is aligned to the Ram constellation. By the way, I can click another button down here and add the constellation art. Stellarium has really beautiful art for their constellation. I can see that late Taurus Mercury is with the bull, but so is the sun. The sun is in the bull's horns. How is that Gemini? Well, friends, signs and constellations are very different things. That is true if you use the tropical zodiac, which is what's shown here currently. Let me go now. I'm going to send this to now, where we find that this Mercury at the first degree of Gemini is very much in the bull, not near the twins over here, right? Well, I could employ a sidereal zodiac, of which there are many. One of the most popular is the Lahiri Ayamnacha, and we'll see now a Taurus Mercury, Taurus Sun. Importantly, these are not constellational either, because the constellations vary significantly in size. I'm not currently seeing any good examples of where the sidereal signs and constellations also do not align, but this isn't a class for that. Take my Sacred Astronomy course if you'd like to tune into the different sidereal zodiacs, the constellational zodiac, but also the very real astronomy of the tropical zodiac, and why, though Gemini sign is not aligned to the twins of the sky, the tropical zodiac is very much rooted in very, very real astronomy. And Stellarium is one of the wonderful tools I use to help show that. In the computer-based version, the much more advanced version, we can put things like the 0 degrees tropical Cancer glyph, the solstice point, on the ecliptic, and it's right here, right where the sun will be in about 8 days at solstice time, right? Where in our day and age, and this changes with the great year of precession, but in our day and age, the June solstice sun, the Cancer solstice sun, sits on Orion's club like snow cones, and that 0 Cancer point is at the foot of the twins. So we see, by the way, Aries, Moon, Jupiter conjunction on June solstice this year. Aries, but fishes. So that's why I call the constellation fishes and the sign Aries. Let's jump here to that June solstice moment. And it is 2:13 a.m., but I'm going to go into the PM hours, which is kind of what we're looking at on our screen. 11:17 a.m. And now the screen is the same as what's being shown on Stellarium. Look at that Moon-Jupiter conjunction. There's the Moon-Jupiter conjunction, Chiron somewhere in between them, and Mars a little further along in the sign of Aries in the constellation of the fishes. Trippy thing, right? Constellations and signs are very different. Okay, so the final buttons I will show you here in the web-based version of Stellarium, and I hope you'll just play and sort it out. You can put the ground beneath your feet. I'm really surprised in the app version I could like hold down on those different buttons and I would get different options. Not for atmosphere, but certainly for landscape. Here it just seems like it's a on-off toggle. So there's a few more things. This is deep sky objects. So I don't know, they're circling the Pleiades, which is a cluster of stars. But here you have circled the Orion Nebula, for example. So if I unclick that, it looks like that circle's going to go away. Let's check out Orion Nebula. You can zoom way in, see this beautiful nebula. It looks like they show a picture until I zoom in too far. If I unclick this deep sky objects now, that Messier 42 and all these NGCs are going to go away and maybe be a little bit easier to see. If I unclick Great Orion Nebula, that circle goes away too. And this thing that looks like a star in Orion's sword, as it's often called, below Orion's belt, is a beautiful nebula, the Orion Nebula. All right, let's get our feet back on the ground. It's going to be easier to do if we bring the ground in. I'm going to take away, well, the constellations here, maybe the art as well, and just show you finally these last buttons. So we have full screen. I think you know what that does. Night mode will turn this red. I mean, if you had your laptop with this on it outside, for example, and you're wanting to connect to the night sky, like all the blue light from the computer will be blinding. So take it red, and you can look at this and still see the sky without having to readjust your eyes each time. Small screen and big screen. These two are these grids. So the equatorial grid, we were talking about just briefly right ascension before declination. That's measured from the celestial equator, which is this blue line here. I know that because it always passes, no matter where you are on Earth, through the cardinal directions east and west. Its altitude will be determined by your terrestrial latitude. El Sobrante, 38 degrees north of the Earth's equator, and so this point is 38 degrees below the zenith, directly above our head here. Well, how can we see where that is? We're going to bring in this other grid called the azimuthal grid. Before I do, I just want to show you the importance of this point right here, which is where the ecliptic, the plane of the solar system, the path of the sun, the plane of the Earth-Sun relationship, intersects the equator. That is an equinox point. So that is 0 degrees tropical Aries. And this other intersection is 0 degrees tropical Libra. Wait a second, that's not the other intersection. I'm on the wrong line. The other intersection is down here below the ground. There, that's 0 degrees tropical Libra. So we'll see that in the chart at this time, which is solstice day, that this Moon-Jupiter conjunction is just past 0 degrees tropical Aries, which is where the ecliptic passes over the celestial equator from the south to the north. Well, Mars is there in Aries too. And so we already saw that in the chart, right? Moon, Jupiter conjunction in Aries, Mars in Aries, close to that crossing point of ecliptic, the plane of the year, and equator, the plane of the day. All right. So how high or low? Well, this azimuthal grid will help us see that. With too much at once, but I will just show you that the center of this circle here at the top, that's now the zenith directly above our head. Okay. And this is that 38 degrees I mentioned before, the measurement from there to the place where the celestial equator crosses the meridian locally. Let me take the equatorial grid away. We'll focus on this azimuthal grid, which is configured to the cardinal directions. So it has lines east, the south, the west. Those are lines of azimuth. Azimuth is like, as altitude, these horizontal lines are up and down. Azimuth is around and around. And the convention is that north is 0 degrees and therefore 360 degrees on the horizon circle. East is 90 degrees. South is 180 degrees of azimuth, and then west is 270 degrees. So let's like go 180, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to go to 90 or to 270. So that's 90 degrees worth and 6 lines. Or is it 7? I guess they're 15 degrees each. 180, 195, 210, 225, 230, 245. No, they're not 15 each, unless I did some bad math. I guess they're 90 divided by 7. That's a strange number. Anyway, they are showing us azimuth and altitude. If this is 90 directly above our head, looks like we get 1, 2, 3 bands. I guess that would be 30 degrees. I don't know. We get 4 bands to go 90. Trying to do some math. That's about 22 and a half degrees. So 22 and a half, 45. 67 and a half, and then 90. Kind of odd choices. Oh, but that's actually not what they are, because now I'm seeing some numbers here on the very sides of the screen. This is 20 degrees altitude. This is 40 degrees altitude, 60 degrees altitude. So we're going to find here around 40. Well, let me leave that there. Okay, I'm also seeing azimuth lines of 270 for west. Oh, that's the only one that I can see labeled. Oh, 285 for this one. So they are doing 15 degrees, and somehow my math failed before. That was the portion of this video that was the least interesting, I hope. And I think we've done enough now. As you know, if you want to learn a software, you just got to go play, push buttons. There are less buttons here than I'd figured we would find on this web-based version of Stellarium. But I'll tell you, the downloadable version is very much going to make up for that. It offers so much. So if you've enjoyed this, I very highly recommend you download Stellarium onto your computer. There are versions for Mac and for Windows and for Linux, as you can see. There's all sorts of information about how to Stellarium. There is a Stellarium community. We're going to find this program offers so much. I will make a video for the Stellarium phone app. Probably do that at night. And I'm going to make a series of videos about how to play with the Stellarium version that you can download directly onto your computer, Mac or PC, for absolutely free. This is it. You can use a bunch of keywords. As I said before, we can very easily change landscapes here. You can actually, this is not a standard one. This is one that I found online and was able to download and upload and add to Stellarium. Bring the sun in and out and the art and the constellations and do all the things that we did before, but so much more. A beautiful thing here, besides not only being able to change the landscape, is that we can also change star lore. So let me bring in the art again, and you'll see, these Western Greco-Roman transmissions here, like Orion and the celestial bowl. Actually, that one coming from Babylon. But let's go to like Lakota, Nakota, like a very different vision of how to connect the dots of the sky. This star lore shift is also available in the smartphone and tablet Stellarium app, which, by the way, is not free. I think it's $5 at this time. I'm recording on June 13th, 2022. And you should be able to see that just based upon where these planets are. Because, my friends, a chart is so much more than a map of the soul, which it is, and that's a beautiful truth. It is also a map of the sky. And if we can learn to see that, like if we can have a sensual, embodied astrological experience, well, won't we get so much closer to an embodied knowledge of the correspondences? If we can learn to measure the heavens, won't we have a deeper connection to the immeasurable, to the poetic breath of nature that astrology is? You can find me at GeminiBrett.com. You can find many offerings on this page here. I haven't been updated for long. You can find some new things probably at my YouTube page. But a lot of that's because I've been teaching a ton. So if you're interested in even what you learned here today and taking that further, you will find my School of Earthstrology at GeminiBrett.com, and also a link to study sacred astronomy for astrologers. Thanks for spending some time with me. In the next Stellarium instructional video, we will get to just a very short and simple one, literally of like how to download Stellarium onto your computer. I'm only going to be able to demonstrate that with Mac. Maybe I'll ask a friend to demonstrate that for PC, so I can add that to this set list here. Wherever you're watching this video, you might be watching it from within the School of Earthstrology or the Astronomy for Astrologers certification course, or perhaps you're seeing it on my YouTube page or somewhere else. This will be in a set list of several Stellarium instructional videos. I've made Stellarium instructional videos before, but the app is getting better and better and better. The software is getting better and better and better, and it's time for an update. So I've just completely taken Stellarium off of my laptop. The videos to come, we will start from the beginning, putting it on the laptop and getting it set up. I will tour you around the menus there in the computer-based version, which are extensive, amazing things we can do, amazing things we can add that are not in the original framework that you download either. And setting up keywords and just learning how to get around smoothly. Stellarium, I have so much gratitude to the creators of this open source software. It has really helped me in my journey of learning to see the chart in the sky and the sky in the chart. All right, that's where I'll find you, friends. This is your friendly astronaut signing off. See you in space.